So I see here on it says you got your MBA in IT management back in 2020, right?
Yes.
Did you finish that like late 2020 or was that right at the beginning? I'm just curious where everything fell on your timeline when you finished the MBA and what you were doing for work.
So I finished that right at the start of 2020.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it's January 2020.
Okay, so
And let's
almost
see.
4 years ago now, right? It'll be coming up
Yeah,
on four
wow,
years.
time flies.
Yeah, seems like it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I met my wife in
No,
late 2020 and thinking that that was 3 years ago, I'm just like, whoa, what happened?
yeah.
Yeah. What made you go into that to IT management?
Um, I have a little bit of a background in IT and just technology in general, and I wanted to at least have the opportunity to go into other positions, companies have uh, basically that credential to say, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing for the most part. So basically, just open doors for the most part. And also to learn a little bit more how technology and business kind of play or go hand in hand and how to solve business issues with technology and vice versa. So it kind of gave me a better understanding of how everything plays together, how to manage it from a management point of view, and not so much as a what's it called, individual contributor. So give me a lot more, I guess, insight into how I can, I guess, work a little bit more efficiently and manage teams a little more efficiently too.
Sure. And then right out, I mean, just looking at your work experience here, it looks like you changed jobs right after you got that to the Domo. Do you say it Domos?
Dumbbells, exactly. Yeah, I was in the logistics industry for a couple of years, and it's not an industry I wanted to be in. It was just an opportunity that came up, and it worked for what I was kind of looking to do. Um, but I would say near kind of the end of my time there, I realized I really wanted to get back into the tech industry, kind of focus my career on that, and that's when I found Delmotes, and we started kind of the interview process. I think it was very start of 2020, and then all the pandemic stuff happened, so we had to kind of postpone that, wait and figure out how is this going to impact the business. So then I started with them in let's see, May of 2020.
Oh, okay. And I mean, it looks like you got your bachelor's degree there too. How fast did you move through the bachelor's? Did you come in with some credits or was it like, yeah, start to finish, it took me, a couple years, or was it really quick on both of them?
It was really quick with both of them because I got my associates in computer science. That helped a bit with some of the credits for the business or the for the bachelor's degree. But I finished that I think to the day in 1 year.
Oh, really? The
And
whole
then
bachelor's was 1 year?
yeah, it only took me 1 year. It was tough working full time and doing that, but
Yeah, that's got to be brutal.
um,
I'm like, oh,
it was crazy. And then same thing with the MBA. Took a year almost to the day, if I remember correctly. Yeah, almost exactly to the day.
were you sweating that capstone project then on the on that last
Oh yeah.
term?
Oh yeah. I think I went into that course with I want to say it might have been a month left in the term, and I was like, okay, I got to knock this out. Got it submitted. Had to revise a couple of things, and I got it submitted again. I think it was 3 days before the term ended, and finally got that passed the day
Yeah,
of term expiration. So it was stressful.
yeah. No, that's that's calling it close. That's cutting it really close.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law. So you said you got your bachelor's in a year. Was that in just, I think I saw it was just business management. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. He went and did his in IT, and I didn't know what Western Governors was, and he started August 1st and finished December 1st. And I was just like, holy cow, dude, how did you do that? He didn't transfer anything in. He had nothing, but he was like, yeah, it took 70, 80 hours a week for the whole 4 months. And I was like, yeah, man, that's brutal. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I wanted to see, that's what kind of got me into it is I was like, oh, how'd you do that so fast? And then I went and looked at it, and I just finished mine. I think it was the official transcript date is like September 13th or the 11th, maybe. And
Oh, nice.
I started April 1st. So mine was the just an MBA, just business admin. But I was shocked how fast you can move through it. And I mean, a year, I know a couple people that took 2 years, but the more I dig in and talk to people, the more I find out it's possible to do it in 1 or 2 semesters, right? And
Oh yeah.
it, I mean, yeah, like it's funny when people are like, well, how did you do it so fast? You must have been cheating or something like that. And I'm like, no, dude, it's you just have to sit down and go through the class, and it can take you a while. On yours, like with your background, which one did you think was easier? I mean, when you came in, were you kind of like intimidated about getting a full bachelor's, or were you like, I'm just going to blow through this? I'm just curious because it feels like a lot of people come in thinking that they're not going to be able to do it, or that it's going to take them 2.5 years. When you got into the program, were you like, oh, dude, I know this back and forth and I'll be able to fly through it? Or were you like, I don't know if I'll be able to do it. We'll see if I can do it. I don't want to tell anybody in case I fail. Like, what were your thoughts going into the program versus how you ended?
It was a little intimidating at first because I was used to kind of the traditional brick and mortar school, and I started at the University of Utah, and like that. Went to Solid Community College and got the associates there, and I learned a lot, but didn't feel like I retained a lot of things. So it was a little intimidating going into a remote only environment or education program. And I think after the first month, I realized, okay, I'm learning much quicker and easier than I did in the past. And I think it was after the first probably 2, 3 courses, I realized this is not going to take me 2, 3, 4 years. I should be able to knock this out in 1 or 2 terms. So I think once I understood how it all worked, where all the good resources were and everything, it it made things a lot easier. And I feel like I learned way more than I did in kind of a traditional classroom setting. So after about a month or two, I'd say it really kind of picked up and was much easier than I was expecting. Not in terms of the courses were easy, but it just worked with kind of the way I guess my mind works and how I learn things.
Yeah. And what you said you were, I mean, once you got used to the resources, mine were, I used a lot of Reddit, Facebook, Quizlet, talking to people. I mean, did you just do all the class material, or do you think you went on some of the external sources for help for a lot of them?
I would say it's almost 50-50. I worked a lot with the class resources. I just pretty much read the textbooks start to finish if all of it was going to be relevant, and um, the presentations and like webinar course or sessions or whatever they were. I can't remember the exact terms for them now, but and then the other half
Yeah.
would be Reddit and Quizlet, and there's another one that this was more in, for the IT management one, but I think his name is Professor Messer. He's amazing for learning anything IT related. So resources like that helped immensely.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I've noticed that some of the professors there, it was interesting. I thought I would have to have a lot of one-on-ones. I would say of the assessments, I failed about half of them on the first attempt and then had to retake them. And the professors, I mean, basically all of them just made me do like a retake quiz, and then
Hmm.
they would open it back up. It wasn't as much like you have to come talk to me. I'm only available during these hours. That's what I liked about the flexibility of WGU is they had multiple backup people or video recordings or just a bunch of other stuff that you could use to go through it. Whereas I got my undergrad at UVU, and you could only go in for tutoring like Tuesday from 9 to 11:30 in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, I hope that works for you because we don't have anything else. And I was just like, that doesn't work at all, man. I mean, we work full time. It's not, you can't go in. Almost all of my schooling I did, at night, probably 2 to 3 in the morning is when I would either take most of the assessments or turn a lot of my stuff in. And I mean,
Oh
lucky
yeah.
for the MBA, but unlucky for me, I got fired right after the 4th of July. And so all of August, I did the other half of the MBA.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And yeah, so I was like, I thought it was going to take two. And then when I got fired, I was like, well, I got nothing going on. So I might as well just hit hit the books.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it looks like, I mean, just from this, right as COVID happened too, like you got your degree and then you were able to get a job right in the middle of COVID. And do you feel like the job that you're at now, has the MBA helped you and like your degrees there, or do you feel like it got you an edge, but then you just had to put in all the work? Like, what do you think the relation is between your degree and what you've been doing for work almost the last 4 years?
Yeah, I would say it helped quite a bit in terms of getting my foot in the door. Just kind of having that credential to prove, yes, I'm capable. I've gone through the education. I know what the job would entail essentially and how to kind of solve issues. But um, I think some of the areas that did really help, especially the MBA, was with communication, just being able to effectively communicate with customers, with colleagues, with everybody, and being able to formulate my, let's say, thoughts and opinions and whatever it may be in a constructive way, and being able to be more empathetic, understanding other people's concerns and frustrations and everything, and being able to just more effectively communicate in general. Um, and then from the IT side, they did help a little bit. The MBA in IT management that helped a little bit, mostly in terms of how to approach a business problem with a technological solution that's effective and increases, I don't know, operational efficiencies, reduces costs, and things like that. So I think it has helped a little bit, but I think it also just kind of prepared me to figure out issues on my own, not have to rely on a bunch of different people or whatever it may be, but being able to find, if I don't have the answer to the question, being able to find that answer for myself or whoever might be asking it. So I think it
Yeah.
made me a little bit more resourceful as well.
Okay. And what would you say what would you say your average day of work is like? I mean, what do you do? And you don't have to relate it to the MBA, but just so people know um kind of what the job is, and you're saying how it's helped you, but on the day to day, like the job description here, from what I see, it just says senior enterprise AE. Have you moved up in different positions or gone laterally, or have you been in that position the 4 years and then you just work up that way? How does your job work right now?
So I essentially started here as the only salesperson for the company, pretty much only salesperson on the sales team. So I started out as kind of like a sales development rep, account executive, sales engineer, customer success, pretty much all those rolled into one. Um, and it's kind of progressed for a little bit where now I'm in more of that kind of senior account executive and sales engineer role where I have a lot of the business side of things that I handle on kind of the sales side of things. And then the technical aspect being the sales engineer, training people, onboarding them, demos, and things like that. And I think both degrees helped quite a bit with both of them. So I could understand one, the business side, but also the technology side and how they kind of play hand in hand together. Um, and also be able to, again, kind of communicate effectively with both technical and non-technical people. So I think the degrees really helped with that.
Okay. And you said you onboard people right now as part of your role. So you've pretty much done everything that they've done, and now you're in a position to help everybody else get queued up with their skills and how to do the jobs that they're going to do because you've done all of them. Do you see a lot of
Mhm.
Western Governors graduates that come through, or are you pretty much the only one? I don't know how big your team is, but I'm just wondering if you've seen other people come with a Western Governors education that have been successful in the role, or maybe if you know anybody in other fields that have been successful with the same type of education.
For now, I'm the only one because it's still a small team, at least on the sales side, but we do plan on expanding that. And my hope is to really try and go after WGU grads because I feel like they're a little bit more capable, a little bit more resourceful. And I've worked with WGU grads in the past and in my previous role when I was still going through the programs and even after the fact, just people I've met on LinkedIn or in person, and we randomly somehow bring up WGU and have a conversation about it. And I think overall the consensus is they feel like they learned way more and retained a lot more than they did in a traditional school setting. The cost was exponentially better than you'd get pretty much anywhere else.
Yeah.
And they felt better prepared for the job. But then from a management point of view, I feel like everybody I've talked to feels that WGU grads are much more capable and willing to just get in there and just get to work. They're not too hesitant or cautious or anything like that. They're ready to kind of get their hands dirty and usually perform a little bit better than you find with a lot of other university grads.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know how many people had gone to Western Governors just in my life until I went. And then when I bring it up, they're like, oh, I went there too, or my cousin's gone there, my brother's gone there. I got, all of a sudden it's like the red car thing. It's like you don't realize
Oh yeah,
how many are on the road until you're driving one or you start noticing it. But I agree with that. I mean, I think that just going to UVU, and I'm sure you saw this at Slick, I feel like you have to take a lot more pointers from the professor. There's an authority figure that you're relying on every single move you make. Like I'm talking to a career counselor for setting up my classes, or I'm talking to professors about my career moves. And you get this kind of dependency on teachers that, might not have anything for you. Like there's so many of them that you think, oh, maybe one will have it, or maybe networking with everybody
right.
that's ever taught me, I'll get something like that. But at Western Governors, I feel like it's, you say, I'm going to get my degree and I'm going to go as fast as I can go. And then you're not really held back by a professor. You're not held back by other students. It's basically just looking in the mirror and saying, how fast can I do this? Nobody's going to hold me back. I'm just going to see what I can do. And then you get this feeling of accomplishment of like, hey, I did a whole bachelor's in a year. I did a whole master's in a year. And you're like, okay, well, if I can do that, what else can I do? And I feel like they're more aggressive going after their own opportunities and going after their, like, if they're not going to get a promotion, then they're going to go after something else, because now they're not relying on an authority figure. It doesn't have to be a professor, but it's like you had to choose to get the degree, you had to choose to move through it that fast. And then you start trying to take, I would say you just, at least I feel now that you take more of a responsibility of like, I need to make my jobs happen. I need to make my career what I want it to be, and nobody's here to help me. I can just go as fast as I can go. And I think that's something that WGU instills in people is like, just get it as quick as you can and then move on to you're responsible for what you're doing. And I mean, other universities push that, but I feel like
Right.
the reins are taken off when you go to WGU, and it's like, okay, now get after it. Go find something you want. Be aggressive just like you were. Whereas traditional universities, I don't feel like they let you be as aggressive like that or move forward at your own pace, and you kind of think like, oh, I didn't get that networking experience in college, so now I have to network with people. And it's like you're trying to make up and just see how far and fast you can go. Whereas
Exactly.
at a normal one, they're like, okay, if you take these 5 classes, you'll be okay. And if you take these 5 classes, you'll still be okay. And you go through that over and over, and then you get out and nobody's there directing you anymore. Whereas WGU, it's like, good luck, buddy. And that's the kind of attitude you start having when you look for work and networking and social groups, whatever it is. You just have like okay, good luck, buddy. It's my thing, right? I have to make this happen.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like it makes people much more independent, able to take accountability for their own actions and decisions and everything, and just feel like they have a little more control over things, not rely on other people to, I guess, kind of do right by them. I guess one way to put it. But just take control and, like you said, if you don't get that promotion, look for something else. Find what it is that you feel you deserve.
Yeah, I feel like you can go after things, or at least it's instilled more to go after what you want to get. And if when you fail, you're just like, got to get up, got to get up, got to get up. Nobody's like making it easier for me. I just have to do the work for it. From what you've seen in the
Hmm.
last, 3-4 years, what have there been any other like WGU success stories that you're like, hey, I really respect that guy, or that girl went really far after she got her degree. Just, now that your network's open up from getting it, what other successes have you seen other people have that have graduated?
Um, I'd say with some of my former coworkers in my last job, there were three or four of them that they knew I was going through the bachelor's program. They knew I was planning to start the MBA program, and they'd never heard of WGU, and were never super interested in like a online only program. But the more I went through it, the more I liked it, and the more I talked to them about it, they realized that it could be something that would be of value to them as well. And a couple of them ended up going through the programs, and we still talk from time to time, and they'll say how in the last role they had, they were pretty stagnant. There weren't a lot of growth opportunities. They didn't see much of a future where they were at.
Yeah.
But since going through the program, they feel um, like one guy, he ended up working at Podium in Lehigh, and after he went through the program, he started there kind of like an entry level salesperson. And then once he finished the program, he's like, "Oh, I feel a lot better about things. I feel more, I guess, capable and ready to take things on." And he went up through pretty much the ladder over there, realized he kind of reached the peak and moved to another company, moved up there, and he just keeps on growing more and more in his roles and taking on more kind of management responsibilities now. I've seen that with a couple of others as well, where up until they finished their program, they were kind of in limbo, I guess, and didn't see much of a, I don't know, like a way out or a future where they were at or kind of where they were headed. And since then, they feel like they can pretty much take anything on. And they've had a lot of really good successes everywhere they've gone.
Yeah, I think that like that attitude adjustment is a huge thing I've seen. I mean, I just had dinner with a friend last night. He got his bachelor's in marketing in probably 4 months, and he was working at are you based in Utah?
Damn, yeah,
Yeah, so he was at BYU um doing carpentry work for like 2.5 years and struggling through his degree, couldn't get anything going. I think he was making like 14 bucks an hour. And then he got his degree like a year and a half ago, maybe a year. And that he had started his own business while he was there. And he makes I don't have it on me, my keys, but he makes these little pill holders with a 3D printer. He has like 5 or 6 of them. And you can put like ibuprofen or an anti-anxiety med or something for your depression, like just on your keys. And it's a
oh
little
nice,
magnetic
yeah,
like pill thing. And just as he was at his degree, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna put these, like what I'm learning, I'm gonna put it into my business. And he makes several $1,000s a month from what I understand just doing that. And then since he got his degree, he went immediately to Entrada, which I think it's over in Silicon Slopes, right? Is it in Lehigh?
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
And he was doing marketing there for 60K a year. And then he moved. I think he was there a couple months, and then he said, no, I want to work at this startup. He just got back from Mexico doing this humanitarian trip, and he likes his job a lot. And within a year of getting his bachelor's, it's like, okay, you were 14 an hour, then you started your own company, went to 30 an hour working at Entrada. I'm not sure what he makes now. I think it's a little bit more. He might be around 70 or 80 after everything, and he's got his company. So I feel like he just, he was there for 2, 3 years, like wondering what he should do, doesn't know what major. People tell him this major, that major, whatever. And then he gets WGU, and all of a sudden he's like, I start my own company. I go out with friends all the time. I start I'm working at a good job. Now I can go get another job. And he's just
Exactly,
on this,
yeah.
like, the momentum has been so far unstoppable for him. And it's like, well, if he had finished his degree, maybe he'd have a better job. We don't know, right? But it's like he he would have still been in the wood shop. He would have probably still been in a degree he didn't like, or not knowing what he wanted to do. And within a year he's completely changed and like doubled or tripled his income just because he decided to take the leap at WGU. So that's one guy that I'm just like, yeah, he's he's got a handle on it. And when I started my MBA, I found out that 3 or 4 of my other friends were getting their MBAs as well, and nobody had told each other. We were all just like, yeah, I'm just going to do it.
Oh,
And
that's funny.
I don't want to tell anybody because I'm embarrassed. And my brother, he's starting it now too, and he's like, don't tell anybody that I'm signing up. I'm like, why? He's like, in case I fail. And I was like, dude, that's so stupid. You're gonna do fine. Tell everybody you're gonna need the support. You're gonna want people talking to you. And then I
Right.
told my wife that. I was like, he's being ridiculous. And she goes, honey, you did that. And I was like, what do you mean? And she goes, you were enrolled for 2 weeks before you told anyone anything. And, and I was like, oh crap, did I do that? Because now I'm just so used to talking about it that I forgot that, for the first 2 weeks of my program, I was like, don't tell anyone. I don't want anyone to know that I dropped out of the MBA if it was too hard. And I mean, I
Yeah, I
ended
saw
up
that with a lot of
finishing.
people.
Yeah, yeah. You just don't realize it. And then it's this one guy I was talking to, he's telling me, he's like 30 hours a week. That's what I'm going to put into it for a year. And I was like, buddy, you don't need that. And he was an engineer and
No,
had a ton of degrees and certifications. And I was like, you're going to fly through this. And he goes, no, I'm not. I know, like, thank you for, flattering me, but my plan is to dedicate 30 hours a week to this for the next 6 months to a year. And I was like, that's a lot of time, man. I don't think you're going to need it. He goes, yes, I will. He started September 1st and he's finishing this week.
oh wow, that is
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, he's nuts. But there's so much like I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And I'm sure you felt a little bit better about your MBA, just because you'd done your bachelor's degree, right? Like it's a breath of fresh air
Oh yeah,
once you've done a couple classes. And that's what I've been telling people that are signing up for it. They're like, I don't, I haven't been back to school in, oh, I don't know. My wife is like, I haven't been to school in 3 years. I don't think I can do it. And I'm like, dude, the average age of a Western Governor's alumni is 38 years old.
right.
So what are you talking? Like, you'll be fine. I mean, it sounds like you're pretty pro Western Governors as well. And like how many, like you said, you talked to it to be about people. How many people in the last 3, 4 years do you think you've like helped get enrolled in the programs they've been in?
Ooh, that is a good question. I would say my guess is maybe 20, 30 people, I think.
Really? That's a ton,
I
man.
think so. I bring it up to everybody I possibly can and say, yes, it can be intimidating. There is that stigma about like an online only university, but trust me, it's worth it. Get into it. It's not going to be as crazy as you think it's going to be. The cost is way better than you can find a spot anywhere else, and you get a lot out of it. And yeah, so forever I'll be bringing it up and trying to convince everybody to go.
Yeah, no, that's a ton though. I mean, on average, you're looking at like once a month. You're if if it's 30 people 3 years ago, I mean, once a month you're sending somebody their way.
Oh, I'm trying. I try to get everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I just helped my buddy sign up for Western Governors. He's starting on December 1st. My brother's starting, my wife's starting, my other brother's starting. It's like, dude, I've been graduated a month and it's all I can tell people to do because you just see people accelerate so much quicker. And if they ever want to jump into something else, like for me to go get an MBA in IT management, like it won't be my skill set, right? But I could probably, like, now I have that confidence of like, you know what? If I ever want to pivot into healthcare management or IT or there, I mean, there's so many MBA programs that you could be like, if I just want to get my foot in the door in that industry, I'm 6 months, like that confidence of like, I'm about 6 months away from having an
Hmm.
MBA in that thing or a teaching degree or whatever. And I feel like it just gives you a little bit more confidence to say, you know what, I can pivot wherever I want. I can go do whatever I want. And I mean, that's really cool how much you do it. What irritates me, I think, about Western Governors is how little they they offer like any kind of referral bonus or um right? Like I went to refer somebody and they were like every person you refer, you get a piece of swag. And I was like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
get a mug for sending you a $5,000 student. Are you kidding me?
I know. I thought the same thing when I got my selection of, I think it was a hoodie, a mug, or maybe it was like a desk fan or something like that, or a coffee mug. I can't remember, but I was like, oh, come on, at least give me a credit towards another program or something.
Yeah, and they could do that, right? I mean, they do that at every other university where they're like, well, if you're smart enough, or if you bring something to the athletics team or something to this team, then we'll give you it's like scholarship money, right? But like I've got
Hmm.
6 classes left for they do that. Did they do it to you where they're like you have 6 classes for another um like management and leadership MBA?
Oh, yeah, I think I remember something about that.
Yeah, I mean, as soon like that's what I've heard from a lot of people is as soon as you get your MBA in one or the other, they try and push this Masters of Leadership and Management, and they're like, you're only six more classes away. And I'm like, yeah, but that's, now you're telling me that I have six more classes, but I have to pay a whole nother semester where I just finished 11
Right.
for this. And so it's just kind of like this, well, I don't know if I'll need it. I mean, it would be nice to have, but like for guys like you and me who love talking about it, getting people into it, hearing success stories about it. I mean, evangelists for the university, right? It's like, dude, get
Right.
every person I bring you, knock a class off my next thing. And then after I get six people to you, I'll start my degree. And then I get it, not for free because I work to get all these people into it.
Right.
But you guys get 30 grand in students and I just get another MBA. Like you didn't lose anything and it's
Exactly.
all online. So what's the big deal?
Right.
But
Yeah. Hopefully one of these days they'll be able to offer something like that. That'd be amazing.
yeah, I've noticed too a lot of people like it's funny, one of my friends, his boss, he doesn't like WGU. He wants to go to an Ivy League. And it's funny because his boss got both his undergrad and his master's from Western Governors. And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. He's like, yeah, he's just telling me all this stuff about it. And I'm like, you're a degree away from being where he's at, dude. Like maybe that's all it'll take, and you don't have to waste not waste, right? But like you don't have to take 60 grand in debt in 2 years at an Ivy League and be in person all the time. You can just get your MBA. If you still want to do it, go ahead, but you can get your MBA and move up at work a little bit and
Exactly.
then you can go do the rest, right? It's just funny when people will be like, "No, I don't want to go to school for that." And then the person managing them, I don't know, it's kind of like a cheat code, right? Cuz they say like, "Oh,
It
that,
is.
that degree is such BS." And it's like, "Then why is he your boss?" Or
Right.
this other guy messaged me, like I asked him if he wanted to, do a video interview like this, and he said companies care about skills, not about a piece of paper. And he said that the Western Governor's Bachelor's of Business Admin was useless to him 5 years ago. And I was just like, okay. I mean, I worked in staffing, and almost every single job I ever looked at said, if you want to work here, you better have a bachelor's degree. And so
Hmm.
it's, I don't know, when people are like, yeah, companies don't care about that. I'm like, then why is every single person I've talked, like every single company I've ever seen asking for
You
that
need
piece
it.
of paper if it's useless?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of the time, sure, might be a foot in the door, but at the same time, it helps in a lot of other ways too.
yeah. And it brings everybody else up, right? It's like, I mean, you've been out of it 4 years and you're still like, go to WGU, go to WGU. And I think even if I just land the same job that I had, or, I don't really move up anywhere, I'll be like, dude, this has made a difference for so many other people. And I feel like, reach out, network, get after it. There's so much opportunity out there. Even if nothing happened for me for like 2 or 3 years, I feel like I'd still, want people to go after it and talk about this because it's been so valuable to so many people.
Exactly.
Do you think with just as a last question here, it says it'll kick us off in about 5 minutes, but where you're at now, do you think that, and I don't want to sound like a job interview, but do you think that, in 5 years you'll still want to be there, or you think you'll maybe go back for more education or change career paths? What are you thinking, just what you've experienced with education and your job the last 4 years? What does the next 4 or 5 years look like for you in terms of advancement?
That is a good question. One I'm trying to find the answer to right now, actually.
And
I would
again, I'm
say
not your interviewer, right? I don't want to put undue pressure on you, but I was just curious if you had insights on it.
I would say maybe a little bit of a career shift. Um, Not necessarily having to move to another company or anything, but being more on, I'd say a little bit more on the technical side, maybe more on the management side of things. But I think another thing that definitely interests me is opening up my own business or having a little side hobby that generates a little bit of income too. Um, I think those are two things that are definitely interesting to me, but I also plan on going back to WGU at some point. I don't know what for. I like learning, and it's always nice when you get another piece of paper at the end of it too.
Yeah.
So I think eventually I'll end up going back. And I did talk to somebody there earlier this year, I think in the spring maybe, and they are currently evaluating how they will be able to do or offer doctorate programs. So
Oh, really?
once they offer PhDs, I'm going to be first in line. I'd love to go through that program once they have that available. I don't know where it's at, probably a year or two out, but I definitely want to go down that path once it's there.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I mean, you just hear about more master's degrees, but if they had a PhD program come out, that would be insane.
Oh, I know. And I don't know how exactly it works. I know there's a lot of reasons why you'd usually do one of those programs in person, but we'll see what happens. I'm really hoping they'll be able to offer that in the relatively near future.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like once you get momentum on it, even just like every, if every 2 or 3 years you're like, oh, you could get another master's and just have it in your tool, like just in case you want to pivot or something like that. I mean, I feel
Hmm.
like it was such a good experience for me that like if they were like, yeah, every year you're gonna have to drop 5 grand on another master's, I'd be like, whatever. I
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
too I don't know, advantageous, I guess. It would be like, yeah, why not?
Right,
Why not learn about marketing? Why not get a master's in teaching? Why not do IT? Why? Because it's just such an easier situation where I can be like, well, if it takes me 6 months, if it takes me a year, I don't care. And a PhD program would be phenomenal for so many people because a lot of those, I mean, they require you to be in person, but if you're that far along in education, most people have got, a house, wife, kids, they've got a full-time job, and they're not going to be able to do that, or they're going to have to cut back
right.
substantially for 2 years while their family just go like, hey, it's like hopefully you can support me and the next 2 years works out. And so it's so hard for a lot of people to take that next step and get it. Whereas if you can get it through WGU, however they work that out, I'm guessing would probably be in like economics or marketing or something business related, because anything that requires you to be in person kind of starts to move away from the online aspect, right? But
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, that would be, if you hear any more about that, please message me because that would be
Oh, I
super
will.
cool. But
I'm
anyway,
hoping soon.
yeah. Anyway, it's gonna kick us off here now. I don't know how much time we have left, but the I'll message you on LinkedIn, and I'll send you the link for YouTube where this will be. And again, I won't promote, like once I put it in one of those accelerator groups, like a YouTube link, it just gets a ton of views and engagement. So I'm just waiting until I have a few more interviews this week and next before it
Sure.
gets pushed out. So um, I'll just let you know as that happens. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, especially in the middle of the day on a Tuesday.
Of course. Thank you as well, Spencer. Happy to talk. And if you ever need anything else, just let me know.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll see you, Bobby.
Thanks, Spencer. You too. Bye.
Bye.